Hi everyone. So I wanted to join in the fun that I was seeing with all of the eight more fountain pen questions 2025 hashtag that's been somewhat drifting around YouTube. I know that these questions come from Simone, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, in her Discord server. So I thought for my very first video on YouTube that I would join in the fun and uh, if there's any problems with the recording, I guess please forgive me. um, so just kind of here, I have the camera, I have a microphone, notebooks, pens, everything I might need is kind of scattered around my desk. So I guess let's just kind of get into it and see how it goes. Uh, the one final thing I would like to mention just as I'm getting to this first page is if anyone hears any noise from like off camera, I live basically right next to a very major street, so there's cars that occasionally go past that are loud. But that's kind of beside the point. We have here the eight more fountain pen que- eight more fountain pen questions 2025. English is hard sometimes. I have all the questions written out. I've looked through them a little bit after I wrote them down, but it's been a couple days, so here we go. I guess we'll just kind of go from the top. I'll do a little bit of talking. I have some pens off to that side that aren't inked, so I can do some show and tell if need be as well. And to start off, we are going to use, what pen? We'll use this pen. I'll be using my Kaweco All Sport. This is my chuck in the purse, kind of forget about a pen. If it gets banged up, it gets banged up. It's aluminium, it's fine. And the very first question is, do you have different uses for different pens? And for that, I would say yes. We'll go with yes. I tend to use my pens for quite a lot in my life, so uh yes. I use them for journaling. I use them for um taking just random notes. If I need to scribble something down, then I can do that. And those notes also extend to like class notes. I'm in university at the moment, and I have a couple of pens that I take to class, and will use them to take notes in class. I'll use them to write answers to questions, all that stuff. If I have essays that I can handwrite, then I'll use them for that. I use them for writing in my planner. I have a couple different planners. I believe it's just off screen. Sorry, pardon me. Sorry. I have a campus weekly study planner from the fine folks out over at Kokoyu. Probably butchered that name, but if need be, I can go in and write in this planner and make sure that I'm keeping on top of my somewhat busy life. And that is kind of. Oh, and the final thing is writing letters to pen pals. I have a couple pen pals that I love keeping in touch with. I write letters to family, all that good stuff. Whatever I can do to kind of stay in contact without being on my mobile or my computer all the time. So, and letters. Or letter writing. And that is the first question. I guess I should mention for the questions I wrote them, like I said a couple days ago, so I can't remember the exact ink. I believe I used Tag Kyoto Nure Biro. I think that's the ink I used. It's a black ink. It was probably that one. um, Next question: how do you choose the inks and pens that you'll use next? This one is kind of a two-parter, and for it we'll go something a little bit more stylish, I guess. This is a pen from Lucky Star Pen Company. This is the Waves of Neptune pen. And I have this inked up with Colorverse Opportunity, which is a lovely purple ink, one of my favorites. Oh, I'm backtracking at this point, but the All Sport that is inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Steeped Umber. that's the ink. Oh, good grief! Too many pens, too many inks. But for how do I choose inks and pens I'll use next, I have a habit of once I've found an ink and a pen combination that I really like, I will tend to stick with it. So I guess I start off by going on a feeling, a vibe. We'll say vibe. Vibes. And B, I will actually, I have an entire stack of ink swatches, and I will tend to just kind of lay a pen out on top of one of the ink swatches and see if I think that the pen and ink kind of match each other, and then go from there. And if they match, then they match. So we'll say pairing by swatches. Oh gosh, I really hope this notebook's kind of centered in frame. Fingers crossed. If it's not, it's not. If it is, all the better. And on to question number 3. What pen do you prefer for longer writing sessions? This is a question that I have a few answers for, so let me do some show and tell. Here are my answers. 2 of them are inked, 2 of them aren't. So I'm gonna start off with probably a pen that everyone knows and loves. This is the Esterbrook Esty. Mine is in the limited edition Raven matte black. That's where I also got my wonderful blotter paper from the fine folks at Esterbrook. And I love this pen so much. It's such a comfortable pen to hold and write for really long writing sessions. So if I need to take notes, if I need to write papers, this is definitely a pen that I will ink up and use a whole lot of. Next up, this is a Lamy Dialogue CC. So it's a couple inches shorter than the regular Lamy Dialogue 3, which is also a retractable pen. But this one just twists and opens up. And I particularly love this for longer writing sessions because the nib itself is super duper smooth, and it can be really, really rewarding to just have that smoothness when I do have to write a whole lot. I will say the one knock I have about this is it's a little bit heavy, but given the amount of mechanics that have to go into making this work, it's kind of 6 one, half a dozen another. I get why it's heavy. But yeah, this is another pen that I adore for longer writing sessions. My next choice is the wonderful, the amazing, the Pilot Custom 823. This is a pen that I ended up actually writing all of my university application essays using. So it's a pen that I've used for such a long time, ever since I got it. I love just using this as much as possible. And my final answer for the perfect pen for longer writing sessions is my beloved Pelikan M800. This is a pen that I adore. It's, again, such a comfortable pen. The nib itself is so smooth, and just it's a really, really comfortable writing sensation for me. So in the end, I think it's between the 823 and the M800. And because of the very next question, actually, I'm gonna say the Pilot Custom 823 is my preferred pen for longer writing sessions. This is their very classic brown smoke finish, and I am using Andurilium Cuttlefish Brown in this. That's been the ink that I've used ever since I first got this pen. It's quite a reliable ink and one that I just really love. I love watching it turn from the dark brown when it goes down on the paper into more of like a grayish. It's just really rewarding. So that would be my favorite pen for longer writing sessions. I'm going to drop that over on the other side. You may have noticed I'm leaving the Pelikan M800 here because the very next question, what is your all-time favorite pen? And again, I do actually have two choices for this. So I have that one, and then I have the Cross Townsend, which is a pen that's not spoken of a huge amount from what I understand, but this was actually my very first fountain pen. I found this for really cheap at an antique shop because it didn't work at the time. So I decided to pick it up, and through learning how to fix the pen and learning how to make it write really comfortably, learning about converters and inks and all that stuff, this is the pen that made me fall in love with fountain pens. So this pen will always have such a special place in my heart. As far as my other pen for all-time favorite pens, the M800 is definitely up there as well. This was a gift from my family for completing my first degree, for my associate's degree. This was such an amazing gift from them, and I almost get a little bit choked up every single time I see this pen, just because it means so much to me. It's just a gift that really shows how much work and effort that I put into my schooling. So I think just on that fact alone, despite the Cross being the pen that made me fall in love with fountain pens, I'd have to say the Pelikan M800 is my all-time favorite pen. It's such a wonderful pen. And Pelikan. I know how to spell it, I promise. I do, right? Yeah, I do. I have not had any caffeine today, so I'm like, oh no, do I know how to pay attention to anything? What is the world? On to the very next question. If you only had to choose one nib size, what would it be? And this is actually a surprisingly easy question for me. I know a lot of folks, they love having different nib sizes for writing different things, for writing on different papers, all that good stuff. But for me, I have one nib size that from the very start, from the first two pens I ever got, I've used this nib size. I love this nib size. This is the size that I go back to whenever I get the chance to, and that would be medium. So my Cross's medium, the Esterbrook's medium, the 823's medium, the Lucky Star Pens is medium. I have a whole bunch of other medium pens off to the side, and it's a nib size that will let you see any kind of special effects in the ink. It will let you write for an extended period of time without running out of ink, which larger nibs like broads and double broads and all that stuff might run out of ink a little bit faster, just because they are obviously larger. And it was the first nib size I tried. I really love it. Nothing too terribly much else to say about that. And for this question, I think we're gonna use my Omos Ojiva, which is also in medium. And this is inked with Pelikan 4001 Royal Blue. So this is, again, a pen I adore. It has an ebonite feed, and it puts down so much ink for a medium pen, while also leaving really delicate lines. It's just this really lovely kind of combination of getting to see the wetness of the ink when you put it down on the paper, along with those getting to talk about pens makes me really happy, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And we're on to question 6 already, which is, what is your favorite nib grind? Now, at this point in time, I don't actually have any nibs ground. I'm planning this summer to get actually a couple nibs done up in different grinds. I'll be getting a grind on my M800. I need to figure out what one I want to get. So that will be something for me to think about. But at the moment, I don't have any nibs that have any grinds on them. And as such, I think I have to put unsure for my answer, because I don't actually know at the moment. And for this question, I'll be using my Leonardo Momento Magico. This is the Pithecusa colorway. It's a lovely blue, so much variation. And I put a Fountain Pen Revolution Ultra Flex nib on it. And my answer for this one is unsure. And for this, I have Endless Alchemy Raven Blue, which is a really pretty blue-black. There's a little bit of gold sheen in it, and it looks so nice. So, we're going to give that just a moment to dry. Just going to hang out for just a second. Looks relatively dry for me, so we're going to turn the page, and we're on to question number 7. And this is actually the question that I had the most difficulty with. I know a lot of folks have had questions. Oh, it wasn't quite dry. Had some difficulty with, like, what is your favorite all-time pen? And if you could only choose one nib size, what would it be? But for me, one ink for the rest of my life was by far the most difficult question. And as such, I have more show and tell. So I have 4 of my favorite inks, and then the ink that I kind of finally settled on for the one ink that I would choose. And for my 4 favorite inks, I have them in different colors. I have a blue, a black, a brown, and a red. And then my final choice. So for one of my favorite blue ink would be Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. This is a blue that works in every pen you put it in. It's such a reliable blue. It's such a pretty blue as well. Well, it's not the brightest blue. It's also not very dark. It's legible. It works in everything. It's wet. So if the pen is a little bit of a drier writer, that can help. But it's not much bad can be said about this ink. And this is actually the second bottle that I have of this. I have an empty one over on a table off shot. I finished up. And I really, really love this ink. Onto my favorite black. And that would be Teranishi Antique Black. This is a black that's not much is talked about. I know a lot of people love Jacques Herbon's Pearl Noir. I know I have a couple blacks, so this, I have Pearl Noir, I have Tag Kyoto Nure Biro, like I mentioned, but this is by far my favorite one. This is the only ink that my Esterbrook Raven has ever used, and I love it because, well, it is a black ink, and it's a lovely black ink. When it dries, it has a habit of, under the right lighting, it can look almost like a really, really dark brown. So I love that it can kind of produce that different shading or that different color under certain lighting conditions. And I think that just makes it such an interesting ink that kind of elevates itself above all of those more typical or boring blacks, if that makes sense. On to my favorite brown, which would be Anaryllium Cuttlefish Brown. I already mentioned it, but that is in my Pilot Custom 823. That's the only ink that's ever been in the Custom 823. And this is such just a historic looking brown. It's an ink that, like I mentioned, I love seeing it change from the really dark brown when it initially goes on the paper into kind of this more grayish brown. It's a very, very reliable brown as well. And just, again, it's one of those inks that I can't find anything bad to say about. Maybe the only thing is I wish the bottle was bigger. I wish I had more of it, because I'm already starting to run a bit low. I have about half a bottle left here, so I'm gonna have to pick up some more at some point. But again, fantastic ink. Really, really love this. It's by far my favorite brown, and I have a couple of browns. Like I mentioned, I have Ferris Wheel Press Steeped Umber in my Kaweco All-Star. I have Jacques Herbin Lit d'été, which is another really, really pretty brown, but there's just something about Andorralium Cuttlefish Brown that makes me keep coming back to it. And on to the final of the choices that I was considering, Diamine Rider's Blood, which is my favorite red ink. This is one of the first inks that I actually ever bought. For the longest time, I was just using just regular cartridges in my Cross, and it wasn't until I found out about converters that I was like, oh well, I should look at ink. And I was doing some reading about ink, and someone mentioned Rider's Blood, and I looked it up and was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I need this ink. I want this ink. So I actually drove to a local art store in the middle of this massive blizzard. I got there about 15 minutes before they closed, and this was the final bottle of Rider's Blood they had at that point. So it's such a stunning red. It's really, really pretty. Very, very comparable, like a lot of people have said, to Diamine Oxblood, but I think the name just by itself is one of those things that just kind of puts it over the top. And just that combination of that deep, dark, rich red and this very, very classic looking pen. Such a fun combo. Really, really love it. But for me, the one ink that I would choose if I only had one ink for the rest of my life would be something a bit more boring, something a bit more predictable, something that can be used maybe a little bit easier in school, in work, in life. And that would be Diamine 1864 Blue Black. This is an ink that, well, it's probably never going to set the world alight with how exciting it is. It's not a shimmer ink. It doesn't do a particularly large amount of shading, all that stuff. This is an ink that's so reliable. It's so easy to use. It's just a color that draws you in, and it's really, really classic as well. I adore this ink. I think it's probably, oh gosh, you know, now obviously I'm getting like 24 minutes into the video and I'm like second guessing myself, but I still think Diamine Blue Black is gonna be my choice. And for this answer, we're gonna use something completely different. I'm gonna use my Kaweco Student with a double broad nib and with Diamine Wax Seal. So at least we're keeping the same ink company. And my answer would be Diamine Blue Black. And I know there might be some questions, but wait, if you like this ink so much, why don't you have it in a pen? And there's actually a very good reason for that. It's because it normally goes in my Omos, which, as I mentioned earlier, has Pelikan 4001 Royal Blue in it. That's because I hadn't actually ever used the bottle of 4001 Royal Blue, and I was like, well, it's probably time to put a different ink in here, just for a little bit. So this pen normally gets blue black in it, but I decided to switch it up a little bit, do something a little bit silly, a little bit goofy, and put a different ink in it. So once the royal blue's done in here, we're going straight back to blue black. And then on to question number 8. What is an absolute deal breaker for me in pens and inks? And I'm going to try and speed through this a little bit because I'm just realizing that we're already almost half an hour in and I'm still yapping about pens. So for me, for inks, deal breakers would be anything that like clogs a pen really easily. So I don't tend to use a lot of shimmer inks because I've had really bad experiences with shimmer inks clogging my pens in the past, and I really, really dislike that. Another deal breaker would be something that's too light to see legibly. So I really, really love Troublemaker Moon River, but that's not an ink that I use a huge amount of because it can be really, really light at times. And the final deal breaker is anything from the company Noodlers. I've heard so many bad things about them. I do not want to get any of their inks. I do not want to see any of their inks. I hate them. Nope, not gonna do that. End of story. Thank you, goodbye, etc. So after that mini rant, this is my Sailor Pro gear, and this has Jacques Herbin's Pro Noir, which is a black ink that I actually just recently got. So for inks, clogs, legibility. Oh, there's one more I. And finally, Noodlers. And 4 pens. This is one that is for pens I probably have like a lot of deal breakers, but I'm gonna try and keep them fairly concise. Number 1 is I'm not actually a big fan of pens that are like really narrow, kind of like this Pilot Elite, which the pen itself is wonderful. It's a great writer, but it's just a little bit too narrow for me to use comfortably for long periods of time. My hands tend to be a little bit bigger and they will ache if they're kept in a really kind of cramped position. This Pro Gear is a wonderful pen. It's almost a little bit too short, and I don't tend to post my pens, so we will have to see how the Pro Gear keeps doing. Another kind of deal breaker for me is another one that I have inked up, and that would be a very slick metal section like the Kaweco Student. This is a beautiful pen. I do not want my fingers to slide off the end onto the nib. That sucks. And the final deal breaker is kind of the exact opposite of the Pilot Elite. It's something that's absolutely massive, like this Narwhal Eclipse. This is a really fun, a really, really unique retractable pen. It's a lot of fun to write with, but it's something that's almost too big for my hands. So I have kind of the exact opposite issue as my Pilot Elite. So it's kind of about finding those pens that are in the like Goldilocks range for me, so that I'm able to use them comfortably. So I guess for this one, what haven't I used? Oh, I haven't used this one. This is a Ferris Wheel Press Bijou in Echoes of Eden. I think that's a dark green. I'm still not entirely sure it's either a dark green or a dark gray, or it could be like a goldish or something. I don't know. And I have Jacques Herbin Vert Empire Green, a really dark green. So this is another pen that's really, really narrow, but this is a pen that I use in my planner. So yes, I'm kind of going against one of my deal breakers, but also, it's one of those things, I guess. So, too big / small. And I think the only other thing, is a metal section. Metal or slick section. All right. And with that, we are on to the bonus question. What is one pen that everyone should have? And once again, I'm gonna cheat because I have a couple answers for this. Just, I promise I'm going someplace with this. And I want, let's go with that. So my answer to the what is one pen that everyone should have is a pen that makes you happy. This is a Platinum Preppy. This is such a cheap pen. It's such a cheerful pen. I love how really basic and reliable it is. If I'm ever scared about losing a pen, I will just chuck this into my bag. I will bring it with me. I will pull it out, and I know that no matter what happens, if it gets lost, it's like $5. It doesn't matter. Also, like the nib, for being so cheap, is amazing. So, on the other hand of the price spectrum, as far as a pen that makes you really happy, is these two. These are Mayora Libertas. There's a little bit of schmutz on that. And I love these pens because they're so unique. They're again slightly bigger pens, but they're super duper comfortable, and both of these are one-of-one pens. So you're not gonna find these pens with the exact same like colorways that these two are. And I love both of these pens, A, because they are so unique, and B, because I had a tough decision if I wanted to get these two, and I'm so happy that I did. They're both fantastic writers, and they make me so happy to use. And then for the final pen, in a pen that makes you happy, just a really great all-rounder, like the Custom 823. So I guess the long and short of it is, what is one pen that everyone should have? A pen that makes them happy. The little smiley face to finish up. And I guess with that, I've somehow talked for about half an hour about pens, so I'm gonna cut it pretty short after this. If anyone does have any comments or anything, I guess put them below if I figure out how to do that. And otherwise, go check out the rest of the folks on the 8 More Pen Questions 2025 hashtag. There's a lot of amazing videos, and I always love seeing what people put as their answers. And with that, I will say goodbye.